Okay, so I'm just going to show you very quickly how to smooth monster clay and get a skin texture on it. Now this method is appropriate for where you haven't got loads of fine detail. What I'm going to do is, first off, I'm going to use a rasp or a rake sort of tool just to refine all the rough bits down in a crosshatch pattern. So this tool, I'll just bring my hand here so the camera focuses on it. This tool has one serrated edge, one smooth edge. You pick them up at most pottery stores. What it's great for doing is just going in, pulling in one direction. So this is kind of like cross-hatching when you're drawing. Pull in one direction, get all the lumpy bumpy bits out. Pull in the other direction. What you're trying to do is just make sure that the solvent doesn't have to do too much work. Don't leave big lumps of clay on here because it'll take you forever to dissolve them with the solvent. You want to get it as smooth as you can. I've probably got a little spot there that I'll go and fill in later. This is just for demo purposes. So I'm just going to get it down like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some mineral spirits. So these are odourless mineral spirits, allegedly. They stink like crazy still. The reason my voice sounds so funny is I've got a respirator on with a VOC filter in it. Always important, always look after your lungs. So I've got that on. I've poured a bit of this mineral spirits out into a jar here. Called my curry sauce jar, actually. Very nice that was. So I'm just going to put this on. What this is going to do is it's going to dissolve the surface, first millimetre or so of it, and make it nice and mushy and soft. Now this is great for areas where you don't have a ton of detail. Don't do it up in areas like this because all the hard work you've done will just be obliterated. So really just a good technique for these areas here where you don't have a great amount of detail. So I'm going to leave this just a minute or so to absorb. You can see already there's a little film beginning to sort of form on the surface. And I'm using quite a soft brush here. You can use a much harsher brush. You use a harsher brush, you get more sort of striation marks and things, but you get a deeper blend of the surface. So kind of pick your poison. So we'll let that absorb for a minute. And while we're doing that, we'll talk a bit about skin texture. So skin texture is about getting those little sort of pores. People are not perfectly smooth, so when people smooth things out to completely, sort of shiny surface, there's certain bits of your body will do that, or if you're sweating or you're nervous or something. But generally speaking, we don't go around sort of shiny. So this gives you a more realistic sort of texture. So I'm pushing the paste just a little bit here, but you can see I'm just starting to, that surface is dissolved. So I can start to rub it around with my finger. You can see how sort of, it looks pretty good already. But rub that round. Now the task is, and I always wear gloves, you don't want to absorb this stuff through your skin either. Just always be very careful with your chemicals. So that's where we are in terms of having a nice surface to work with. My favourite tool for getting skin texture on there is this brush here. It's made by a company called, let me bring my hand in so it focuses, Gava, I believe. You can buy them online, they're sort of 20-30 bucks a pop. Really good quality brushes. What I like to do is take the end of it and just sort of dab it like this onto the piece. And can you see how it's just lifting up the texture here? It's giving me, when it dries, it'll be a nice sort of skin texture. So really easy to do. The bigger the brush, the quicker it is. You can also use a sponge for this. So the little potter's sponges are pretty good. You get a slightly different surface, but both equally good. I think we look on this piece, some of it I've done with this brush. You know, other areas I think I hit this with a sponge. So it's a slightly rougher texture, slightly more pores. So you know, bigger pores might be more appropriate for around the nose, that sort of thing. But both good techniques. I like to leave this to dry overnight. Don't mess with it now because you'll just slide the surface everywhere. I let it dry up overnight. You end up with a nice skin texture. There you go.